Today, during the Superbowl, a Starlink commercial ran. First time a video commercial has gone to air in the US, I believe, although the Starlink service has been advertised quite aggressively over the last number of years. I've seen billboards for these in airports when traveling to visit family over Christmas going back a number of years. Some pretty epic imagery accompanying this. A quote from Arthur C. Clarke about satellites and the future, communications, blah, blah, blah. Why am I even showing this? Well, here's the deal. You may not have heard, unless you're a regular viewer, but Starlink, which is owned by SpaceX and printing money, currently accumulating more than roughly 25,000 customers every single day. Starlink is the growth engine, providing SpaceX billions and billions of dollars of cash for development of Starship, a future moon base, what I'm calling Starthink, a constellation of 1 million plus AI satellites for space-based AI inference and training. And don't forget the imminent SpaceX IPO. We're now over on Google Trends, looking at the United States. Over the past day, search interest in, you guessed it, Starlink. Clearly, this has caused a massive surge, temporarily, in the number of people learning about, discovering for the very first time, Starlink. Of note, we can look at interest by sub-region, e.g. the different states of the US. Alaska, Montana, Wyoming, West Virginia, and Idaho, the most popular sub-regions in the US. I think most US residents might notice a bit of a trend. I actually scrolled down and found this quite amusing too. The related queries: does Elon Musk own Starlink? I think there might be a few leftards. Elon bad. However, the reason I'm bringing this up, we join the dots. This is no doubt going to cause a massive surge, not only in interest in Starlink, but new Starlink customers. The more customers Starlink has, the more money Starlink is printing, the better this is for SpaceX pre and post IPO. Speaking of SpaceX and Starlink and the IPO, came up on the recent All In podcast. By the way, you guys might recall a few weeks ago, Chamath Palihapitiya shared his contrarian prediction, which was that SpaceX will reverse merge into Tesla.
I don't want to end the show without talking about the SpaceX XAI merger. On Monday, Elon Musk announced SpaceX is acquiring XAI, largest M&A transaction in history, $1.25 trillion combined valuation. If you didn't know, X, formerly Twitter, got acquired by XAI, which was Elon's LLM AI startup. Those two were together. Now those two become part of SpaceX, and they're going to IPO this year, potentially the biggest IPO in history in terms.
Definitely a very strong chance. Now we're looking at Polymarket odds. This is not completely up to date, so let's look at the latest. What we can see here, the SpaceX IPO closing market cap, e.g. on the first day. Where does it finish? Current valuation, as we know, 1.25 trillion. But like I said, if Starlink is accumulating fuck tons of customers, printing even more money, the whole business continues to grow, make more money, there's a very strong chance that the IPO is well in excess of 1.25 trillion. Currently on Polymarket, it looks a little bit more bullish than we saw on the All In pod. Greater than 1.6 trillion now is not far off 50% versus just a couple of days ago, that was at 39%. Greater than 2 trillion at 37%. So SpaceX certainly could be the biggest IPO in history.
In terms of money raised and market cap, Brad, your thoughts on this transaction and the eventual, perhaps, creation of $MUSK, put Tesla, SpaceX together, which includes X, and then you've got Optimus robots on the moon base, building data centers in space that are powered by solar. Your thoughts?
I just love the fact that this idea is not going away. From a logical point of view, it absolutely makes sense to have all these companies combined. The synergies, the overlap, the way that they can benefit one another, exclusive data streams, technology sharing, all kinds of stuff. It just makes sense. Never mind the reduced administrative overhead for Musk. At this point, in my opinion, it is not a matter of if this eventually happens. It's simply when and how. And on this topic, you will note right now that Elon Musk is staying the hell away from any of the discussion about Tesla potentially merging with SpaceX. He's not shooting down any of these rumors or saying, oh no, that wouldn't make any sense. Nor is he saying, yeah, that's definitely a great idea. Dude's hands are no doubt tied until SpaceX has IPO'd. But the silence is deafening.
Well, let's just stick with what we know. SpaceX is merging with X.AI. You're merging the two biggest TAMs in the world, right? All of artificial intelligence and all of space together with the world's greatest entrepreneur. And he said, there was a podcast he did this morning with Cheeky Pine, our friend John Collison, where he said, I'm going to have data centers in space in 30 months, right? And if you're going to have a massive cost advantage with data centers in space, and remember, power is the proxy, power is the primitive to AI. If you can deliver that, right? And there are tons of retail investors and institutional investors like us who want to bet against that future, right? Then Elon's your guy, and the combination of those make perfect sense. But Elon is like kind of an N of one, his ability to dream this.
And just to clean that up, you said bet against, you mean bet with him, not against that vision, but bet with that vision. Just
like I think that there will be dramatic retail demand and institutional demand who want to bet on that future. These two giant TAMs of artificial intelligence in space.
Got it.
And so, and then if you just look at, you click.
By the way, can confirm, as can just about all of you, there's absolutely going to be massive demand from retail investors. Institutional investors, maybe a little less so, but think about all the people as SpaceX is approaching IPO who either want a piece of SpaceX for the massive long-term potential there. They have no competition. It took Blue Origin 10 years for their first successful landing of an orbital class booster. A whole decade behind SpaceX with quasi-unlimited funding. In other words, if you're an investor after the SpaceX IPO, at the SpaceX IPO, you now have an opportunity to invest in the only company that matters in space. In that same package, also a dominant AI company with a bunch of gigabrains working under the leadership of Elon Musk. You want the GOAT of space, you want SpaceX. You want the GOAT of AI, you want XAI. And now that these two companies are one, you get both. As Brad's pointing out, the two TAMs here are astronomical, pun intended. I suspect that the interest in the SpaceX IPO is going to be absolutely off the charts.
Down a layer, Starlink's going from, I think, 10 million people to 20 million people. They're going to launch this, retail mobile service so that we can have Starlinks to our phones to replace these crappy mobile networks that still 20 years later can't keep us connected to a phone call. And, and now we're going to get, data centers in space. So, I'm glad he's on America.
Data centers in space, Friedberg, brilliant idea, science fiction. Can he get it done in 30 months? Impact if he does?
Well, I think there's one key point that I would make about the macro landscape at the moment. We are limited by power. And as Brad pointed out, power is the requisite for scaling compute, for scaling ultimately the applications of AI. And in that constrained world, much like any other constrained world, scarcity breeds innovation. And so I think that there are two paths that we're going to observe happening in parallel here. One is the Elon path, which is to escape the constraints of these social systems that say, I don't want a data center, I don't want nuclear, I don't want this, I don't want that. Regulators, people that are trying to tax you, people that are limiting our ability to scale electricity production on Earth. And there's a lot of reasons for that, and we can go through them. So that's one aspect of how do you escape that constraint. I think that there's a separate aspect, which is totally unrelated to the topic you're talking about, which is that I do think that we will see compute efficiency scale by probably on the order of 70 to 100x over the next few years, meaning electricity efficiency per token of output. And I think that there's a number of reasons to believe that. It's in the chip stack. I mean, Grok, our friend Sonny, and his exit to Jensen is a good indication of that. But that was, call it, Brad, I think you know the number. It's probably around 2 to 3x improvement in energy efficiency. But there's model architecture being redone. There's ways of breaking LLMs into small models, running them locally. There's a way of having networks of models work where you don't have to call the whole model and run it through the entire matrix, but you can run through smaller matrices. And then you can have those smaller matrices call other matrices as needed. So the total compute need goes down, which means total electricity goes down.
Yeah, aka AI is going to get much more efficient, more bang for buck, which, by the way, will also enable a dramatic increase in not only the number of AI applications, but the capability of AI. If you thought the hockey stick moment over the last couple of years, ChatGPT, the image generation, video generation, like text to image, text to video with audio, if you thought that was wild, you ain't seen nothing yet.
So chip architecture is changing, model architecture is changing. So I think this is a good reflection of what's going on right now in the world, which is there is this increased demand for AI, for effectively productivity improvements in the world to unleash human potential. But we are constrained by energy and we are constrained by resources that we have here on Earth today. So one branch is let's escape Earth, go get energy in space, make data centers in space. Only one person can execute on that. It's Elon. I think that, to Brad's point, is an N of one. I don't think we're going to see a lot of that. So how is everyone else going to respond? Because everyone else can't launch data centers in space. I think everyone else is going to respond by creating entirely new model architectures, new chip stacks. And that's, I think, the other side of this innovation coin.
Efficiency. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this new way of getting lower energy costs per token of output.
And if you put those both together, you could get both. So whatever token efficiency and energy efficiency happens here on Earth, Elon can put into space, right? So
that's right.
Yeah, so he could.
And I think we got to.
So play along with me. Let's say that David, Jason, they're correct. That space-based data centers, e.g. AI in space, is something that only Musk via SpaceX is going to be able to pull off. An N of one. They're both in agreement on this. Hard to argue, by the way. Again, no one else is even close to SpaceX. So even in the best case scenario, if somebody had unlimited capital to launch a competing space-based AI service, they would need to use SpaceX to do the launches, and SpaceX is not a charity. So they'd be making money just on the launch, which would mean the competitor would not be able to compete with cost because they don't have the same launch cost advantage because they're having to pay SpaceX for launches. So no one else can compete with what I'm again calling Starlink. And all of the improvements in terms of efficiency will also apply to Starlink. So if Musk is right, and the most affordable AI training and inference will be space-based within just a few years, and SpaceX is the only company that's going to be able to build out space-based AI infrastructure, and they can integrate any of the improvements that are happening with AI training hardware into their Starlink constellation. The question then is, how would any company compete with their AI training and inference costs? There's actually an answer to that. It's quite a simple answer. They can't. This is the clear implication of what these guys are talking about. If no one else can do space-based AI, and we've gone through the logic in terms of costs, even if somebody wanted to do their own space-based AI, they need to use SpaceX for launches. Now, this is a cost advantage that no company is going to be able to overcome, aka it's G, which also makes the SpaceX IPO that much more compelling. Because if you want AI, and you can invest in a publicly traded AI company that has an inbuilt, unassailable cost advantage due to launch by being in bed with SpaceX, the XAI SpaceX partnership. Unless you're retarded, you look at what SpaceX can do, you look at what's going to be a massive, unbeatable cost advantage for AI training and inference. You think, how could another company match them on cost? Oh, they can't, because no one else has the reusable orbital class rockets, no one else is developing Starship. How long would it take to do that? Wait, Blue Origin's taken more than a decade to... Well, okay, fuck it. You literally have no choice. Clearly, if you're not a dimwit, you're going to invest in the obvious and clear winner here.
Ask ourselves the question, if this is successful and if Elon's math is right, the engineering's right, and the execution is right, what is the response going to be? Because the whole planet isn't going to let Elon have a monopoly on the future. So we've got to ask ourselves from a social perspective, a political perspective, an economic and a business perspective, all four of those vectors, what are others going to do? We can all be excited about retail buying into this, great. But how is the business community that's building data centers and is investing, Google's investing 185 billion this year in data centers, how is China going to respond? How are people going to respond when one man controls the world's compute? And we could probably do a 2 or 3 hour conversation on that. But I think that's where I would spend a lot of time doing deeper analysis from both an investment perspective and thinking about what's around the corner. I think it's Elon's laid out his path and where he's going, and I do believe he's going to do it. Now, what's the rest of the world going to do? That's where I think things get a little bit more challenging and you could kind of debate things, but the rest of the world is not going to sit idly by.
Yeah. And Brad, if this does happen, you get people with new chipsets, new architectures, better software, and better energy on planet Earth, and Elon doing this in space. And we do see tokens go down or efficiency go up, let's say 200x, 300x. There is a possibility that we're going to solve almost all the problems we need to solve, and there'll be excess capacity. That is another potential outcome here, is that we don't know what to do with all these tokens.
Social order. Social order is the one problem that you're going to create, Jason. So just to be clear, there's a concept of diffusion of innovations. When something new comes, it does not hit everyone at once. And so the rate of change that's being unleashed right now is creating a very asymmetric outcome in terms of when people realize the benefits from that change.
Absolutely.
And so as what you're describing happens, which I think it will, Elon is accelerating everyone forward and he's going to force everyone else to respond in business, in government, and so on. The biggest challenge, the biggest problem that's going to emerge as we get rid of cancer, as we get rid of aging, as we get rid of food scarcity, as we get rid of resource scarcity, blah, 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 social order. Because it's going to create such a tremendous disruption.
I love the up-leveling of the point that David just made, because I think it links a lot of things we talked about today together. There have been 117 billion humans who've occupied this planet. And for 99.9% of them, they never saw a single innovation in their lifetime. Their lifespan was shorter than the invention cycle. And now you think about the rate of change that we're having to digest nation states, families, businesses, right? It's prepare for the unexpected, and whatever the things are that you believe to be true. Again, I just think it demands this intellectual humility. Now, to Friedberg's point, I don't think any of this is changing in the next 24 months, 36 months. Data centers are going to be on planet Earth. They're going to be filled with NVIDIA chips and the other chips that we've talked about. And I think that alone is going to bring us this agentic future that's already going to be shocking, even before we launch these data centers in space.
Yeah, I mean, this is an over-the-top move from Elon that I don't think anybody anticipated, and he has figured it out. I've sat with him, and he's walked me through it, like how this works. It works. So the question is simply execution. There is no stronger entrepreneur when it comes to execution in the history of entrepreneurs than Elon. I know he's a friend of mine, and I'm hyping him up, but he will execute on this. And if he does, or when he does, I should say, it's going to change everything.
Jason, clearly extremely confident that Musk will execute here. And again, back to the earlier points, they all seem to be in agreement that space-based AI, SpaceX is going to have in essence a monopoly, not because it's unearned, not because of unethical or dishonest business practices, but because SpaceX is the only company that has developed reusable rockets, which has dramatically lowered launch costs and massively increased the frequency of launches. Oh, and by the way, they're currently developing Starship, which itself is going to be even more rapidly reusable with much more payload to orbit. All roads quite clearly seem to lead to SpaceX, which again now includes XAI. Absolutely dominating. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 has been part of my daily health protocol for almost half a decade. It's packed full of vitamins and minerals and helps me fill in nutritional gaps while supporting energy, digestion, and immune function. It also has prebiotics and probiotics to promote gut health. I take my health very seriously, and so should you. Try AG1 today by visiting drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment and enjoy a free welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2 and AG1 travel packs. That's drinkag1.com/SMR.